My brother Josh totaled my car, lied to the cops, and had me arrested for reckless driving, but he had no idea I had a dashcam recording everything. What started as insurance fraud turned into felony charges when the footage revealed something far worse than just a crashed car. Want to know what the dashcam caught that sent my own brother to prison? I'd love to know which corner of the globe you're watching from. And if this story speaks to you, make sure to subscribe. Tomorrow's video is one you absolutely can't miss. My name is Savannah Morgan, and I'm 26 years old. 3 months ago, I thought my biggest problem was deciding whether to accept a job offer in Seattle or stay in Phoenix. Turns out I was wrong. My biggest problem was trusting my brother Josh with the keys to my Honda Civic, a mistake. That would land me in handcuffs and him behind bars. Let me back up to where this nightmare actually began. It was a Tuesday morning in late July when my phone buzzed at 6:30 a.m. Josh's name lit up my screen, which immediately set off alarm bells. My younger brother wasn't exactly known for his early rising habits. At 23, he was still figuring out what he wanted to do with his life, which mostly meant bouncing between part-time jobs and crashing on my couch more often than I'd like to admit. "Savannah, I need a huge favor," his voice came through before I could even say hello. There was an edge of desperation that made my stomach tighten. I rubbed the sleep from my eyes and sat up in bed. "Josh, it's barely dawn. What's going on?" "I have a job interview at 9 in Tempe. It's for that marketing position I told you about last week. The one with actual benefits and everything." He paused, and I could hear traffic in the background. "My car won't start. The battery's completely dead, and I can't afford to miss this interview." I've already rescheduled twice. I should have said no. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to just offer him money for an Uber and go back to sleep. But Josh had been struggling lately, and this job actually sounded legitimate. Maybe this was his turning point. Maybe he was finally getting his act together. "Fine," I heard myself say. "But you need to have it back by 3. I have a dentist appointment at 4, and you know how Dr. Patterson feels about cancellations." "You're the best sister ever. I swear I'll take care of it like it's made of glass. I'll even fill up the tank for you." 20 minutes later, Josh was at my apartment in Mesa. I handed him the keys to my silver 2021 Honda Civic, my pride and joy that I'd worked double shifts at the hospital to afford. I was a pediatric nurse at Banner Desert Medical Center, and that car represented every long night and missed weekend I'd sacrificed. Remember, 3 o'clock, I emphasized, watching him adjust the driver's seat. "And please, Josh, no detours. Straight there and straight back." He flashed me that trademark grin that had gotten him out of trouble our entire childhood. "Relax, Sav. I'm not 16 anymore." That should have been my second warning sign. The morning passed uneventfully. I caught up on laundry, binge-watched a true crime documentary, and made myself a decent lunch. Around 2:30, I started glancing at my phone more frequently. By 3:15, I was pacing my living room. At 3:30, I called Josh. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. By 4 o'clock, I'd missed my dentist appointment and was genuinely worried. Josh could be irresponsible, sure, but he wasn't cruel. He knew how important that appointment was. I started texting, "Where are you? Is everything okay? Josh, answer your phone." Nothing. At 4:45, my phone finally rang. But it wasn't Josh. It was an unknown number with a Phoenix area code. "Is this Savannah Morgan?" a stern male voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "This is Officer Bradley Chen with the Phoenix Police Department. We have your vehicle here at the intersection of Camelback Road and 32nd Street. There's been an accident." My heart dropped into my stomach. "Is my brother okay?" "Josh Morgan. He was driving my car." There was a pause that lasted too long. "Ma'am, the driver of your vehicle fled the scene. We need you to come down here immediately." The next 30 minutes were a blur. I called an Uber and gave the driver the intersection, my hands shaking the entire ride. My mind raced through possibilities. Had Josh been hurt and wandered off in shock? Was he lying in a hospital somewhere? Why would he run? When I arrived at the scene, my stomach turned. My beautiful Civic was crumpled against a light pole, the entire front end accordion folded like paper. The windshield was spiderwebbed with cracks, and fluid leaked onto the asphalt in dark puddles. 2 police cruisers had the area blocked off, and a tow truck was already hooking up to what remained of my car. Officer Chen was a stocky man in his 40s with sharp eyes that didn't miss much. He approached me with a clipboard and an expression that told me this conversation wasn't going to go well. "Ms. Morgan, can you confirm this is your vehicle? Arizona license plate 7GHY492. Yes, that's mine." My voice came out smaller than I intended. "What happened?" "Where's Josh?" "That's what we're trying to figure out. According to witnesses, your vehicle was traveling at excessive speed westbound on Camelback when it ran a red light, struck another vehicle, and then crashed into this pole. The driver exited the vehicle and fled on foot before we arrived." "Another vehicle?" My head was spinning. "Was anyone hurt?" Officer Chen's expression darkened. "The other driver, Mrs. Patricia Donovan, 67 years old, was transported to St. Joseph's Hospital with a broken collarbone, 3 fractured ribs, and a concussion. She was driving a 2019 Toyota Camry that's been totaled. I felt like I might throw up. Oh my God, is she going to be okay? Doctors say she'll recover, but it's serious. Ms. Morgan, I need to ask you some direct questions. Were you driving this vehicle at the time of the accident?" "No, I already told you my brother Josh was driving. I let him borrow it for a job interview." The officer exchanged a glance with his partner, a younger woman named Officer Ramirez according to her name tag. Something in that look made my blood run cold. "Ms. Morgan," Officer Chen continued, pulling out his phone and showing me a photo. "This is an image from a traffic camera 2 blocks from here, taken approximately 5 minutes before the crash. Can you identify the driver?" I looked at the grainy photo. The angle was from above and behind, showing someone in the driver's seat of my Civic. They were wearing a dark hoodie with the hood pulled up, and the image quality made it impossible to see their face clearly. "I can't tell who that is from this picture," I said honestly. "But it has to be Josh. He's the only one who had my car." Officer Ramirez spoke up for the first time. "The problem, Ms. Morgan, is that we have no evidence your brother was ever in this vehicle today. And fleeing the scene of an accident with injuries is a felony in Arizona. Right now, all the evidence points to you as the registered owner." "That's insane." My voice rose, drawing attention from the gathering crowd of onlookers. "I was at home all day. I have witnesses. Well, I was alone. But I can show you my location history on my phone, or—" "We'll need you to come to the station to make a formal statement," Officer Chen interrupted. "And Ms. Morgan, I strongly suggest you contact an attorney. You're looking at some serious charges here." That's when I realized the true depth of the nightmare I'd walked into. This wasn't just about a crashed car or a missed dentist appointment anymore. This was about a felony hit and run, an injured elderly woman, and a brother who had apparently vanished into thin air, and I had absolutely no way to prove my innocence. The Phoenix Police Department's Central City precinct smelled like burnt coffee and industrial cleaner. I sat in interview room 3, a windowless box with gray walls and a metal table bolted to the floor. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, making everything feel surreal and overexposed. Officer Chen sat across from me, a digital recorder between us, its red light blinking like an accusatory eye. Officer Ramirez leaned against the wall behind him, arms crossed, watching my every movement. "For the record, please state your full name and date of birth," Chen began. "Savannah Marie Morgan, March 14th, 1999. And you understand you're here to give a voluntary statement regarding the hit-and-run accident that occurred today at approximately 4:30 p.m.? "Yes, but I'm telling you I wasn't driving." My brother, Chen, held up a hand. "Let's start from the beginning. Walk me through your entire day, starting from when you woke up." So I did. I recounted every detail: Josh's early morning call, my hesitation, handing over the keys, spending the day at home. Chen scribbled notes, occasionally asking for clarification. When I mentioned Josh's job interview in Tempe, he stopped me. "What company was this interview with?" I don't actually know. He just said it was a marketing position with benefits." "Did he show you any email confirmation? Interview details?" My stomach sank. No, I just took his word for it. Ramirez and Chen exchanged another one of those looks. I was starting to hate those looks. A lot of love and effort went into bringing this story to life. If you're enjoying it, we'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe to our channel. Now, back to where we left off. Ms. Morgan? Ramirez finally spoke, pushing off from the wall. We've been trying to locate your brother since we arrived at the scene. We went to his last known address, an apartment on Roosevelt Street that he apparently vacated 3 weeks ago. His cell phone is going straight to voicemail, and according to his previous employer at Desert Sky Mall, he was fired 2 months ago for not showing up to shifts. The room felt like it was tilting. What? No, he told me he quit that job. He said he was looking for something better. When's the last time you actually saw your brother before today? Chen asked. I had to think about it. Maybe 2 weeks ago? He came by to borrow $50 for groceries. And you gave it to him? Of course I did. He's my brother. Chen leaned back in his chair, studying me. Ms. Morgan, I'm going to be straight with you. Right now, this looks really bad. Your car, your registration. No witnesses placed anyone else behind the wheel. And a brother who seems to have conveniently disappeared without a trace. But I was home. My voice cracked. Check my phone's GPS. It'll show that I was at my apartment all afternoon. Phone GPS can be manipulated or left behind, Ramirez said. Do you have any actual alibi? Did you talk to anyone? Order food delivery? Have any video calls? I racked my brain, desperate for something, anything. I watched Netflix. That tracks what you watch and when, right? Chen made a note. We can check that, but it's not conclusive. Someone else could have been using your account. Do you have Ring cameras? Security footage from your apartment complex? My building doesn't have cameras in the hallways. And I don't have a Ring. The interrogation continued for another 45 minutes. They asked about my relationship with Josh, whether we'd fought recently, if I had financial problems, if I'd been drinking or using drugs. Every question felt like a trap, and every answer seemed to dig me deeper. Finally, Chen turned off the recorder. Here's where we are, Ms. Morgan. The district attorney's office is reviewing this case. Given the severity of Mrs. Donovan's injuries and the fact that someone fled the scene, they're considering filing charges. At minimum, you're looking at leaving the scene of an accident causing serious injury. That's a Class 5 felony in Arizona. But I didn't do it. Tears were streaming down my face now. Why won't you believe me? It's not about what I believe, Chen said, and for the first time, his voice softened slightly. It's about what we can prove. And right now, we can't prove your brother was anywhere near that car. They let me go around 8 p.m. with strict instructions not to leave the state. I walked out of that police station feeling like my entire life had been pulled out from under me. My car was totaled. My brother had vanished. And I was facing felony charges for something I didn't do. I took another Uber back to my apartment, barely registering the driver's attempts at small talk. When I finally walked through my door, I collapsed on my couch and let myself fall apart completely. Around 10 p.m., after I'd cried myself into numbness, I forced myself to think logically. I was a nurse. I solved problems for a living. There had to be a way out of this. I grabbed my laptop and started researching Arizona hit-and-run laws. Class 5 felony, 2.5 years in prison, thousands in fines, loss of my nursing license. My entire career, everything I'd worked for, on. Then I started searching for Josh. I checked his social media. His last Facebook post was from 3 weeks ago, a vague status about new beginnings. His Instagram was private, but the profile picture showed him wearing sunglasses at some outdoor concert. Nothing helpful. I called our parents in Flagstaff. My mom picked up on the third ring. Savannah? It's late, honey. Is everything okay? Where did I even start? I gave her the abbreviated version, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom gasped in all the right places and kept saying, oh my God, on repeat. Have you heard from Josh? I finally asked. Josh? Not for a couple weeks. He texted me on my birthday. Why? Wait, you said he was driving your car. He borrowed it this morning. Mom, do you have any idea where he might be? There was a long pause. Savannah, honey, there's something your father and I probably should have told you. Josh called us about a month ago asking for money. Said he had some debts he needed to pay off and that people were pressuring him. My blood ran cold. What kind of debts? He wouldn't say exactly, but he sounded scared, Savannah. Really scared. Your father told him we couldn't help him, that he needed to figure it out himself. We thought we were doing the tough love thing, you know? Helping him grow up. How much money did he ask for? $12,000. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. 12,000? Mom, what did he get himself into? We don't know. He wouldn't tell us. He just said if he didn't pay, things were going to get really bad. Oh God, Savannah, you don't think— I have to go, Mom. I'll call you tomorrow. I hung up before she could press for more details. My hands were shaking again as I opened my banking app, something I should have done hours ago. I navigated to my checking account and stared at the balance. $374. There should have been $3,474. I'd just gotten paid last week, and I'd been saving for a down payment on a condo. I frantically checked my transaction history. There, dated this afternoon at 2:47 p.m., exactly when Josh should have been heading back from his fake interview, was a withdrawal. $3,100 ATM withdrawal, Chase Bank, Scottsdale. Josh hadn't just taken my car. He'd taken my debit card and drained my account. And suddenly, I realized this wasn't just about a car accident. My brother had set me up. He'd planned this. The fake job interview, the morning timing to get the car, everything. But why? What was he running from that was worth throwing his own sister under the bus? I grabbed my phone to call Officer Chen when I noticed something. When Josh had adjusted my driver's seat that morning, I'd watched him from my apartment doorway. And I remembered now. I'd seen him fidgeting with something on the dashboard. My Dashcam. 6 months ago, after a close call with an aggressive driver on the I-10, I'd installed a Dashcam with front and rear cameras. It recorded continuously whenever the car was running, saving footage to a memory card. If Josh had been driving, if he'd crashed, if he'd run, it would all be on that camera. The footage was my proof. My salvation? The one thing that could save me from prison and expose what Josh had really done. There was just one problem. My car was impounded, and I had no idea if that dashcam was still there or if anyone even knew it existed. I needed to get that footage before it was too late. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my Honda crumpled against that light pole, or Mrs. Donovan in a hospital bed, or Josh's face grinning at me as he drove away with my keys. By 5 a.m., I gave up on sleep entirely and started making a plan. First, I needed to find out where my car had been towed and whether I could access it. I called the Phoenix Police non-emergency line and got transferred. 3 times before reaching someone who could help. Vehicle. Impounds for accident investigations are held at the West Valley Impound Lot on 51st Avenue. Bored-sounding clerk told me. But you can't access a vehicle that's part of an ongoing investigation without authorization from the detective assigned to the case. What if I just need to retrieve personal belongings? Still need detective approval. Call back during business hours and ask for the detective handling your case number. I hung up, frustrated. Business hours meant 9 a.m. at the earliest, 4 hours away. 4 hours for that dashcam footage to potentially be discovered, erased, or lost forever. At 7 a.m., I texted my supervisor at the hospital. Family emergency. I need to take personal days. I'm so sorry for the short notice. Within minutes, she responded with concern and approval. At least I wouldn't lose my job on top of everything else. Not yet, anyway. By 8:30, I was in an Uber heading to the police station, clutching a coffee I was too nauseous to drink. I'd dressed professionally, slacks, a blazer, my hair pulled back, hoping to look like someone responsible and truthful rather than a felony hit-and-run suspect. Officer Chen wasn't in yet, but the desk sergeant directed me to Detective Marcus Webb, who'd apparently been assigned to my case overnight. Detective Webb was a tall black man in his early 50s with gray at his temples and the exhausted eyes of someone who'd seen too much. Ms. Morgan, he greeted me, shaking my hand with a firm grip. I was planning to call you this morning. Please have a seat. His office was cramped, every surface covered with files and coffee cups. A photo of two teenage boys in basketball uniforms sat on his desk, his sons, I assumed. Detective, I need to access my car, I said before he could start. There's a dashcam installed, front and rear cameras. If someone else was driving when the accident happened, it'll be on that footage. Webb's eyebrows rose. A dashcam? That wasn't noted in the initial report. It's small, mounted behind my rearview mirror. Easy to miss if you're not looking for it. But it's there, and it records everything, video and audio. It could prove I wasn't driving. For the first time since this nightmare began, I saw something like hope flicker in an authority figure's eyes. What brand and model? It's a Vantru N4, 3-channel system. Saves to a 256GB memory card. Should have the entire day's footage on there. Webb was already typing on his computer. Give me a minute. He made 2 phone calls while I sat there, my leg bouncing anxiously. The first was to the impound lot, the second to Officer Chen. After 10 minutes that felt like hours, he hung up and looked at me. I'm sending an officer to retrieve that dashcam memory card right now. If the footage is what you say it is, Ms. Morgan, this changes everything. How long until? A couple hours at least. The impound lot opens at 9 and we'll need to properly document the evidence chain. In the meantime, I need to ask you some questions about your brother. I told him everything. Josh's disappearance, the fake job interview, the stolen money from my account, what my parents had said about the debts. Webb took meticulous notes, occasionally stopping me to ask for clarification. $12,000 is serious money, Webb said. That kind of debt, people get desperate. Sometimes violent. Do you have any idea who he might have owed? No clue. Josh and I weren't as close as we used to be. He'd show up when he needed something, but he never really shared what was going on in his life. When he borrowed your car, did he seem nervous? Scared? I thought back to that morning. Actually, now that you mention it, yeah. He was talking fast and couldn't quite meet my eyes. I thought he was just anxious about the interview, but he was anxious about something else entirely, Webb finished. Ms. Morgan, I'm going to be straight with you. If your brother deliberately caused this accident and fled, knowing you'd take the fall, we're potentially looking at much more serious charges than simple hit and run. Like what? Identity fraud for one, vehicular assault, theft, and if he drained your bank account, add financial exploitation. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we need to see that footage. At 11:15, Webb's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his expression hardened. Bring it up immediately, he looked at me. They've got the dash cam. Memory card intact. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Everything, my freedom, my career, my entire future, depended on what was recorded on that tiny piece of silicone and plastic. 10 minutes later, a uniformed officer arrived with an evidence bag containing my dashcam. Webb handled it carefully, removing the memory card with gloved hands and inserting it into his computer using a specialized reader. These devices are admissible in court if properly authenticated, he explained as the files loaded. The metadata shows date, time, GPS coordinates. Very difficult to fake. The computer showed a folder structure with video files organized by date and time. Webb navigated to yesterday's date and found the files corresponding to the accident timeline. Here we go, he murmured, double-clicking the first file. The video opened, showing the crystal-clear view from my dashboard. The timestamp read 8:47 a.m. I watched as Josh climbed into the driver's seat, adjusted the mirror, and glanced directly at the camera. Wait, I said. Go back. Webb rewound a few seconds. There, Josh's face looking right at the lens. Then his hand reached up and the camera angle shifted slightly as he turned it upward toward the ceiling. He knew it was there, Webb said quietly. He tried to reposition it so it wouldn't catch him, but Josh had made a crucial mistake. The camera's wide-angle lens still captured the driver's side window and part of his profile. As the footage continued, you could see him driving. See his hands on my steering wheel? See him constantly checking the rearview mirror like he was watching for something. Webb fast-forwarded through the morning drive. Josh went to a bank, not the one where he'd withdrawn my money, I noted, and sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, periodically checking his phone. No job interview. No office building in Tempe. He was waiting for something, I said. Or someone. At 2:35 p.m., the footage showed Josh pulling into a shopping center parking lot in Scottsdale. A man approached the driver's window, Hispanic, mid-30s, wearing a black leather jacket despite the summer heat. Their conversation was heated. Josh shook his head repeatedly. The man pointed at him aggressively, then walked away. 2 minutes later, Josh drove to the Chase Bank ATM. The camera captured him using my debit card, my card that should have been in my wallet at home. Except I realized now that I'd left my wallet in the car's center console yesterday morning. After withdrawing my money, Josh sat in the parking lot for another 10 minutes, his head in his hands. Even through the grainy dashcam footage, I could see he was crying. What did he get himself into? I whispered. Webb was silent, watching intently as the footage continued. Josh eventually pulled out of the bank and started driving west. The timestamp showed 3:18 p.m. At 3:52 p.m., everything changed. A black Dodge Charger with tinted windows appeared in the rear camera view, following closely. Too closely. Josh noticed it. You could see him checking his mirrors constantly, his shoulders tense. The Charger accelerated, pulling up alongside my Civic in the left lane. The rear camera caught its license plate clearly. Arizona plate, 8TYU9923. Run that plate, Webb said to the officer who'd brought up the dash cam. The man immediately left the room. On screen, the Charger swerved toward Josh, forcing him to jerk the wheel right. Josh was now driving erratically, clearly panicked. He ran a stop sign, nearly sideswiped a minivan, and was approaching the intersection of Camelback and 32nd Street at dangerous speed. He was being chased, I breathed. Someone was running him off the road. The light ahead was red. Josh didn't slow down. The Charger was right behind him, literally inches from his bumper. At the last second, Josh swerved left to avoid rear-ending the cars stopped at the light, and that's when he lost control. The dash cam captured everything. The terrible screech of tires. The sickening crunch as my Civic clipped Mrs. Donovan's Toyota Camry, spinning both vehicles. The final devastating impact as Josh's momentum carried him into the light pole. The airbags deployed. For several seconds, there was nothing but white fabric and the sound of Josh coughing and swearing. Then the most damning part. Josh unbuckled his seatbelt, grabbed something from the passenger seat, and fled. But before he ran, he looked directly at the dashcam, and in that moment, his expression was pure terror. The Charger never stopped. It drove past the wreckage and disappeared down Camelback Road. Webb paused the video on a frame showing Josh running away from the scene. "Well," he said after a long moment, "this certainly changes things." "He was running from them, not from the accident," I said, my voice hollow. Josh wasn't trying to frame me. He was trying to save his own life. "Maybe," Webb said carefully, "but he still left you holding the bag. And Mrs. Donovan is still in the hospital." The officer returned, slightly out of breath. "Detective, you're going to want to hear this. That Charger? Registered to Victor Castellanos." Webb's expression went dark. "Victor Castellanos? As in Marco Castellanos' nephew?" "The same." I looked between them, confused. "Who's Marco Castellanos?" Webb turned to me, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen before. Genuine concern. "He's the head of a loan sharking and gambling operation in Phoenix. And if your brother owes him money, Ms. Morgan, this situation just got a lot more dangerous than a car accident." Detective Webb's office suddenly felt smaller and more claustrophobic. The name Marco Castellanos hung in the air like a threat. "I need you to tell me everything you know about this Castellanos person," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Webb exchanged a glance with the uniformed officer, who quietly excused himself. Once the door closed, Webb leaned forward, his elbows on the desk. "Marco Castellanos has been operating in Phoenix for about 15 years. Loan sharking, illegal gambling, extortion. We know he's dirty, but he's smart, keeps his hands clean, Uses people like his nephew Victor to do the actual legwork. We've never been able to make anything stick. And you think Josh borrowed money from him? $12,000 in debt? Someone pressuring him? Yeah, that fits Castellanos' operation perfectly. He targets young guys, especially ones with gambling problems or drug habits. Gets them in deep, then owns them. Webb pulled up something on his computer. Tell me, did your brother ever have issues with gambling? I thought back over the past few years. Josh's constant money problems, the way he'd get excited about sports games, his weekend trips to Talking Stick Resort. Oh, God. Yes, he loved betting on basketball games. Said he had a system. They all have a system, Webb muttered. Until they don't. He turned his monitor toward me, showing a surveillance photo of the man who'd approached Josh in the parking lot, the one in the black leather jacket. This is Victor Castellanos. We've had eyes on him for months as part of a larger investigation. If he's personally collecting from your brother, Josh is in serious trouble. What kind of trouble? Webb's expression was grim. The kind that ends with people disappearing, Ms. Morgan. Castellanos doesn't forgive debts. He makes examples. My hands started shaking again. Despite everything Josh had put me through, he was still my little brother. The kid who used to build blanket forts with me, who cried when our dog died, who called me first when he got accepted to community college. We need to find him, I said. Before they do. We're already looking. I've put out a bolo. Be on the lookout for Josh. Every officer in the metro area has his description. But Ms. Morgan, you need to understand something. Your brother committed multiple crimes yesterday. Even with the dashcam footage explaining why he fled, he still ran from an accident scene where someone was seriously injured. He stole your money. He left you to face charges. When we find him, he will be arrested. I understand. But at least he'd be alive and in police custody instead of... I couldn't finish the sentence. Webb nodded slowly. There's something else you should know. We're going to need to keep this dashcam footage quiet for now. Part of the ongoing investigation into Castellanos. If word gets out that we have video evidence of Victor chasing your brother, it could compromise months of work. So, what happens to me? Everyone still thinks I was driving. Officially, for the next few days. Yes. I'm sorry, but it's necessary. We'll move as fast as we can. He pulled out a business card and slid it across the desk. This is Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Huang. I've already briefed her on the situation. She's agreed not to file charges while we investigate further, but you need to keep a low profile. I took the card, relief washing over me. Not arrested. Not yet anyway. What do you need me to do? Go home. Don't talk to anyone about what you've seen on this footage. If your brother contacts you, and I mean any contact, call, text, email, anything, you call me immediately. Don't try to meet him yourself. Don't tell him about the dashcam. Can you do that? I nodded, though the thought of Josh reaching out and me having to turn him in made my stomach turn. Webb walked me out of the station, promising to keep me updated. As I waited for yet another Uber, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I'm sorry, Sav. I never meant for any of this to happen. I'll make it right, I promise. Don't look for me. Josh. My finger hovered over the call button on Detective Webb's card. But something stopped me. I needed answers first. I needed to understand what my brother had gotten himself into and why he thought destroying my life was his only option. Instead of calling Webb, I texted back, "Where are you? Are you safe?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then it appeared again. Finally, the less you know, the better. I messed up really bad, and now people are looking for me. Stay away from this, Savannah, please. Josh, there's video footage. The police know you were driving. They know about Victor Castellanos. You need to turn yourself in before this gets worse. The reply came faster this time. If I turn myself in, I'm dead. Castellanos has people everywhere, even in lockup. I need to figure this out. How much do you owe him? A long pause. Then, started at $12,000. With interest and penalties, it's up to $32,000 now. I can't pay that, Sav. I don't have anything left. $32,000. The number made my head spin. What did you do with the $3,000 you stole from me? Gave it to Victor. He said it bought me 3 more days to come up with the rest. I'm sorry I took it. I'm sorry about your car. I'm sorry about everything, but I'm running out of time. My Uber pulled up, but I waved it away, too focused on the conversation. Josh, listen to me. The police can protect you. Detective Webb seems like a good guy. If you cooperate, tell them everything about Castellanos. You don't get it. Marco Castellanos doesn't go down. People have tried to testify against him before. They end up dead, or their families do. I won't put you and Mom and Dad at risk. We're already at risk. Do you think these people don't know you have a sister, an address, a family? No response. The three dots appeared and disappeared several times. My heart was racing. Finally, that's why I have to handle this myself. I have a plan. Just give me a few days. What plan? Josh, what are you going to do? But the dots never appeared again. I tried calling the number, disconnected. He'd probably used a burner phone and already tossed it. I stood there on the sidewalk outside the police station, my brother's cryptic messages burning in my mind. He had a plan. What kind of plan could possibly get him out of owing $32,000 to a dangerous criminal? Then a horrible thought occurred to me. The only plans desperate, people made when they owed money they couldn't pay, were plans that involved either running forever or doing something drastically stupid. I pulled up Detective Webb's card and was about to call when my phone rang. My supervisor at the hospital. Savannah, I'm so sorry to bother you during your emergency, but we have a situation. Do you remember a patient named Patricia Donovan? Elderly woman came in yesterday evening with multiple fractures from a car accident. My blood went cold. Yes, I know about her. She's asking to speak with you specifically. She told the attending nurse that she knows you were involved in the accident somehow. She's quite insistent. Says it's urgent. Mrs. Donovan wanted to talk to me. The woman who was injured because of my brother's reckless desperation wanted to have a conversation. Part of me wanted to refuse, to hide from the human cost of Josh's choices. But another part, the part that became a nurse to help people, knew I had to face her. I'll be there in 30 minutes. I ordered another Uber and spent the entire ride rehearsing what I could possibly say. How do you apologize to someone for your brother almost killing them? How do you explain that your car was the weapon, even though you weren't holding it? St. Joseph's Hospital was busy with the late afternoon shift change. I signed in at the visitor's desk and made my way to the trauma wing, where Mrs. Donovan had been admitted. Room 847. I stood outside her door for a full minute, gathering courage. Through the small window, I could see her lying in bed. Her silver hair spread across the pillow, her right arm in a cast, monitors beeping steadily beside her. I knocked softly. "Come in," a surprisingly strong voice called out. Mrs. Patricia Donovan was smaller than I'd imagined. Maybe 5'2", with bright blue eyes that seemed to see right through me. Despite the bruising on her face and the obvious pain she must have been in, she smiled when she saw me. "You must be Savannah Morgan," she said. "Please sit down." I took the chair beside her bed, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. "Mrs. Donovan, I am so sorry about what happened to you. I know words aren't enough, but..." She held up her good hand, stopping me. "I know you weren't driving that car." I blinked, confused. You know?" I saw the driver run away. Young man, mid-20s, brown hair, wearing a gray t-shirt and jeans. She studied my face. "You don't look anything like him. And when the police showed me your photo and said you were the registered owner, I told them something wasn't right." Tears sprang to my eyes. That was my brother, Josh. He borrowed my car and... It's complicated. Life usually is, dear. Mrs. Donovan shifted slightly, wincing at the movement. The police came by this morning with more questions. Mentioned something about video evidence that confirmed what I'd told them. I assume they found proof you weren't responsible? Yes, my Dashcam recorded everything, she nodded slowly. Good, I'm glad. When I heard they were considering charging you, I couldn't sleep. I know what it's like to be blamed for something you didn't do. It happened to me 40 years ago, long story, but I never forgot how it felt. I wanted to tell you personally that I don't hold you responsible, and I'll make sure everyone knows it. The relief that flooded through me was overwhelming. Thank you. You have no idea what that means to me. But I do need to ask you something, Mrs. Donovan continued, her expression turning more serious. That young man who was driving, your brother, he looked absolutely terrified when he ran past my car. Like he was running for his life. Is he in danger? I hesitated, unsure how much to share. But something about Mrs. Donovan's kind eyes made me want to tell her everything. Yes, I finally said. He's in a lot of danger. She reached out with her good hand and squeezed mine. Then I hope you find him before someone else does. I left the hospital feeling like I'd been given a small piece of my humanity back. Mrs. Donovan's forgiveness didn't erase what Josh had done, but it made the weight on my chest slightly more bearable. As I walked through the parking lot toward the bus stop, I still didn't have a car after all. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Detective Webb. Ms. Morgan, we need to talk. Can you come back to the station? I was just there a few hours ago. What happened? We found something on the dashcam footage. Something we missed the first time through. It's important. 20 minutes later, I was back in Webb's cramped office. This time he had a woman with him, petite, Asian, sharp-eyed, wearing a blazer that screamed federal agent. Ms. Morgan, this is Special Agent Lisa Chen with the FBI. She's been investigating the Castellanos organization as part of a joint task force. My stomach dropped. The FBI? This was bigger than I'd realized. Agent Chen shook my hand with a grip that was surprisingly strong for someone so small. Ms. Morgan, thank you for coming in. I know this has been an incredibly difficult time for you, but I need to ask for your help. My help? I don't know anything about this Castellanos guy or his operation. Not directly, Chen agreed, sitting across from me. But your brother does. And more importantly, your brother's dashcam footage has given us something we haven't had in 3 years of investigation: visual evidence of Victor Castellanos engaging in witness intimidation and vehicular assault. Webb pulled up the footage again, this time focusing on a section I hadn't paid much attention to before, the part where Victor approached Josh's window in the parking lot. Watch this carefully, Webb said, enhancing the audio. Through the background noise, you could hear Victor's voice, clear and threatening. You got 3 days, Morgan. 3 days to come up with my uncle's money, or we will start visiting your family. Your sister works at Banner Desert, right? Pretty girl. It would be a shame if something happened to her. The blood drained from my face. They'd threatened me. Used me as leverage against Josh? That's a direct threat, Chen said. Witnessed intimidation, extortion, and conspiracy. Combined with the vehicular assault, that chase that forced your brother off the road, we finally have enough to bring Victor Castellanos in. And if we can flip him, we can get to Marco. Flip him? Get him to testify against his uncle in exchange for a reduced sentence, Webb explained. It's how we take down organizations like this. You get someone on the inside to turn. I was still processing the fact that these people had threatened to hurt me. That Josh had known I was in danger and that's why he'd been so desperate, so reckless. What do you need from me? I asked quietly. Chen leaned forward. We need your brother to come in voluntarily. If he's willing to testify about the loan sharking operation, the threats, everything he's experienced, that testimony, combined with the dashcam evidence, could take down the entire Castellanos network. He won't do it. He already told me he thinks Castellanos has people everywhere, even in jail. He's terrified of testifying. We can protect him, Chen insisted. Witness protection, relocation, new identity if necessary. But we need him alive and talking. Right now, he's running around Phoenix with a target on his back and $32,000 in debt. How long do you think he'll last? Not long. The answer was not long at all. He texted me earlier from a burner phone, said he has a plan. Then he went dark. Chen and Webb exchanged concerned looks. What kind of plan? Webb asked. He didn't say, but he sounded desperate. Like he was going to do something stupid. We need to find him before he does, Chen said. Ms. Morgan, I know you want to protect your brother, but the best way to protect him right now is to bring him in. Do you have any idea where he might go? Friends? Old hangouts? I racked my brain. Josh had never been great at keeping friends. He burned bridges the way other people burned calories. But there were a few places he used to frequent. There's a sports bar called the Overtime on Thomas Road. He used to go there to watch games and place bets with some guys he knew. And there's an old warehouse in Glendale where he said some people ran poker games. I don't know the exact address. Webb was already taking notes. We'll check both locations. Anything else? I thought harder. He had a girlfriend about 6 months ago. Melissa something. She worked at a coffee shop in Tempe near ASU campus. They broke up, but maybe he'd reach out to her. Last name? I never met her. Just saw her Instagram a few times when Josh showed me photos. Her handle was something like Melissa Brews or Barista Lissa. Something coffee-related. Chen made a note. We'll track her down. Ms. Morgan, if Josh contacts you again, you need to convince him to meet with us. Tell him we can keep him safe. Tell him it's his only way out. And if I can't convince him? Her expression turned grim. Then we'll probably find his body in a few days, and this whole investigation goes back to square one. The bluntness of it hit me like a slap. Josh could die. My stupid, reckless, gambling-addicted brother could actually die because he'd gotten in over his head with the wrong people. I'll try, I whispered. If he contacts me, I'll try. Webb walked me out again, this time pressing a direct phone number into my hand. FBI hotline. It goes straight to Agent Chen's team. Anytime, day or night. I nodded numbly and headed home. My apartment felt different when I walked in that evening. Empty. Haunted by all the times Josh had crashed on my couch, raided my fridge, borrowed money he never paid back. I'd been so annoyed by him, so frustrated with his inability to get his life together. Now I'd give anything to have him here, safe and annoying, instead of out there somewhere making desperate plans. I ordered takeout and tried to watch TV, but I couldn't focus. Around 9 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number, Josh? No, Ms. Morgan, this is not Josh. The voice was smooth, accented slightly, older, confident. Every instinct in my body screamed danger. Who is this? My name is Marco Castellanos. I believe you've been hearing quite a bit about me lately. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. Marco Castellanos himself was calling me. I have nothing to say to you. Please don't hang up. I'm not calling to threaten you. I'm calling to help you find your brother. Why would you help me? Because Josh has something that belongs to me and I'd like it back. If you help me locate him, I'm willing to forgive his entire debt. He walks away clean. No one gets hurt. It sounded too good to be true, because it was. You expect me to believe you'll just forgive $32,000? Ms. Morgan, I'm a businessman. Sometimes you have to write off bad investments. Your brother is more trouble than he's worth at this point. I just want to close the books and move on. His voice was so reasonable, so calm. All you have to do is tell me where he is. I don't know where he is. But if he contacts you, you'll let me know. Yes? No, I won't. There was a pause. When Castellanos spoke again, his voice had lost its friendly veneer. Ms. Morgan, I don't think you understand the situation. Your brother stole from me, not just by failing to pay his debts, but he actually stole something very valuable. $32,000 is nothing compared to what he took. My mind raced. Josh hadn't mentioned stealing anything. Just owing money. I don't know what you're talking about. Of course you don't. Josh wouldn't tell you. But 3 days ago, during a payment collection at one of my establishments, your brother took a ledger. A book containing names, amounts, dates, very detailed records of my business operations. He thinks he can use it as leverage, or perhaps sell it to the authorities. Either way, I need it back. That was Josh's plan. He'd stolen evidence that could bring down Castellanos and was probably planning to trade it to the police or FBI in exchange for protection. I still don't know where he is, I said. Keeping my voice steady, I believe you. For now. But Ms. Morgan, let me be very clear. If that ledger ends up in the wrong hands, there will be consequences. Not just for Josh, for everyone he cares about. Your parents in Flagstaff, Thomas and Linda Morgan, 842 Pinecrest Drive. Very nice house, by the way. And you, of course. Banner Desert Medical Center, Pediatric Wing. You work the day shift, usually arrive around 7:15 in the morning, park in the south lot. He knew where my parents lived, where I worked, When I arrived, are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality to you. Help me get my property back, and everyone stays safe. Interfere and... He let the sentence hang. I'm going to the police. By all means. Tell them we had this conversation. They'll assign you protection for a few days, maybe a week. But they can't watch you forever, Ms. Morgan. I can wait. I'm very patient. The line went dead. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, my entire body trembling. Marco Castellanos had just threatened me, my parents, and made it clear he knew every detail of our lives. Josh hadn't just gotten himself in trouble. He'd dragged all of us into something dangerous, something that wouldn't end until Castellanos got what he wanted, or everyone involved ended up dead. I immediately called Detective Webb and relayed every word of the conversation. He swore under his breath and said he'd send a patrol car to watch my apartment and contact Flagstaff PD to check on my parents. But as I packed a bag to spend the night at a hotel, Webb's suggestion, I couldn't shake one thought. Josh had stolen a ledger. Evidence that could take down a criminal organization. Evidence that could save his life or get him killed. Wherever he was, whatever plan he was executing, my brother was holding the most dangerous piece of paper in Phoenix, and Marco Castellanos would do anything to get it back. The hotel room on Indian School Road was generic and impersonal. Beige walls, floral bedspread, the faint smell of industrial cleaning products. I'd checked in under a fake name at Detective Webb's instruction, paying cash for 3 nights. I couldn't sleep. Every car door slamming in the parking lot made me jump. Every footstep in the hallway sent my heart racing. Marco Castellanos' voice kept replaying in my mind. I can wait. I'm very patient. Around 2 a.m., exhausted but wired on adrenaline and hotel coffee, I started digging into everything I could find about Marco Castellanos online. There wasn't much. The man kept a low profile. A few mentions in old Arizona Republic articles about organized crime investigations that went nowhere. A photo from a charity event where he stood in the background, barely visible. But I did find something interesting. A 3-year-old blog post from a former investigative journalist named David Reeves, who'd tried to expose Castellanos' operation. The blog detailed how loan sharks operated, how they kept meticulous records of every transaction to track payments and maintain control over their victims. These ledgers, Reeves wrote, are both the organization's greatest asset and their Achilles heel. They contain everything: names, amounts, dates, even notations about threats made and violence committed. If law enforcement ever got their hands on one, it would be enough to bring down the entire operation. Josh had that ledger. Somehow, in his desperate attempt to save himself, he'd managed to steal the one thing that could destroy Castellanos. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom. Flagstaff police just left. They said we might be in danger? Savannah, what's going on? Call me. I couldn't avoid it any longer. I dialed my parents' number. My dad answered on the first ring. Savannah Marie Morgan, you better start explaining. So I did. I told them everything. Josh's gambling debts, the car accident, the criminal organization, the stolen ledger, the threats. My mom cried. My dad got quieter and quieter, which was always more terrifying than if he'd yelled. Your brother has always been reckless, Dad finally said, his voice tight with anger and worry. But this is beyond anything I could have imagined. The police think you should stay somewhere else for a few days, I said. Maybe with Aunt Carol in Sedona? We're not running from our own home because Josh made bad choices, Dad snapped. The police are driving by every hour. We'll be fine. But I could hear the fear underneath his bravado. We were all scared. Josh had set off a bomb in our lives, and we were all just waiting for the explosion. After I hung up, I lay in the dark hotel room, staring at the ceiling. My brother was out there somewhere with stolen evidence, convinced he could outsmart a career criminal. He was going to get himself killed. Or worse, get all of us killed. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Sav, it's me. Don't say anything, just listen. Josh. His voice was hoarse, like he'd been running or crying or both. I know you're probably with the cops or they're listening or whatever, but I need you to trust me. I have a ledger. I'm going to give it to the FBI tomorrow morning, but I need something from you first. Josh, where are you? Are you safe? I'm fine. I'm at a motel in Casa Grande, paying cash, using a fake name. They won't find me here. But Sav, before I turn myself in, I need you to do something. What? There's a safety deposit box at Chase Bank on Mill Avenue in Tempe. Box number 447. I need you to go there tomorrow morning when they open and get what's inside. What's in it? Evidence. More evidence. Stuff I've been collecting for the past month because I knew this day was coming. Photos, recordings, copies of text messages. Everything that proves what Castellanos has been doing. It'll help the FBI case. My mind was reeling. Josh, you've been planning this for a month? I knew I couldn't pay him back. I knew eventually he'd come for me. So I started documenting everything. Where they operated, who worked for them, how they collected payments. I figured if I had enough dirt, I could trade it for my life. His voice cracked. I never meant for you to get caught up in this. The car accident, that wasn't supposed to happen. I was just trying to get away from Victor and then everything went wrong. Mrs. Donovan is still in the hospital, Josh. I know. God, I know. That's why I'm turning myself in. I can't run forever, and I can't keep putting everyone at risk. But I need that evidence from the safety deposit box first. It's the difference between Castellanos getting a few years and him going away for life. Why can't you get it yourself? Because they're watching the bank. I saw Victor's car parked across the street this afternoon. They figured out I might have hidden something there. But they won't be watching for you. They don't know about the safety deposit box. It's in a fake name I created. But you're on the authorized access list. I added you 6 months ago just in case. This was insane. Josh wanted me to walk into a bank that was being watched by dangerous criminals and retrieve evidence that could get me killed. I can't do this, Josh. I'm not a spy. I'm a pediatric nurse. Please, Sav, I know I don't deserve to ask you for anything after what I've done. But this is the only way. The FBI needs everything I have to make the case stick. Without that safety deposit box stuff, they might only get Victor, and Marco walks free. And if Marco walks free, none of us are ever safe. He was right, and I hated that he was right. What name is the box under? James Carter. The key is taped under the driver's seat of your car, or what's left of your car. You'll need to get it from the impound lot. Of course he'd hidden it there. The impound lot isn't open until 9 a.m., and the bank opens at 10. That's cutting it really close, Josh. I know. But you can do this. You're the strongest person I know, Sav. You always have been. Tears were streaming down my face now. You're an idiot. You know that? A complete reckless idiot. Yeah, I know. I could hear him crying too. I'm sorry. For all of it. I never wanted you to hate me. I don't hate you. I couldn't find the words. I just wish you'd asked for help before it got this bad. Me too. Look, I have to go. This phone is almost out of battery and I need to toss it anyway. Tomorrow morning, get the key, get to the bank by 10:15 at the latest, and take everything in the box to Detective Webb. Tell him I'll surrender at the FBI field office at noon. Can you do that? Josh, can you do that, Savannah? I wiped my eyes, trying to steady my voice. Yes, I can do that. Thank you. And Sav, I love you. I know I never say it, but I do. You're the best sister anyone could ask for. The line went dead before I could respond. I sat there in that hotel room, my brother's words echoing in my ears. He loved me. He was sorry. And tomorrow morning, he was going to turn himself in and hope the FBI could protect him from the organization that wanted him dead. But first, I had to retrieve evidence from a bank being watched by criminals, using a key hidden in my destroyed car under a fake name, without getting caught or killed. No pressure. I called Detective Webb and told him about Josh's plan. He was silent for a long moment after I finished. This is incredibly dangerous, Ms. Morgan. We should send in an undercover officer to get the safety deposit box. Josh said I'm on the authorized access list. If someone else tries to get it, it could tip off the bank, and word might get back to Castellanos. We can't risk it. Then we'll send a team with you. Plainclothes officers, surveillance, the whole setup. Won't that be obvious? If Victor's people are watching the bank, they'll notice extra people hanging around. Webb sighed heavily. You're probably right. Okay, here's what we'll do. We'll have officers in the area, but at a distance. You go in alone, conduct the transaction like it's normal banking business, and come straight out. We'll be watching, and if anything goes wrong, we will move in immediately. What if something goes wrong before you can get there? Then you run, Ms. Morgan. You forget about the evidence and you run and you let us handle it. Your life is more important than a box of documents. But that wasn't true, and we both knew it. Without that evidence, Josh's testimony might not be enough. Marco Castellanos could walk free, and if he walked free, my family would never be safe. I'll do it, I said. Tomorrow morning, I'll get the key and go to the bank. Get some sleep if you can. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. Sleep. Right. As if that was possible. I spent the rest of the night running through scenarios in my mind. What if Victor recognized me? What if there were cameras? What if the bank teller asked too many questions? What if Josh's fake identity didn't work? By the time dawn broke through the hotel curtains, I'd convinced myself a dozen times that this plan would fail spectacularly. But I was going to do it anyway, because Josh was my brother, and despite everything he'd put me through, I couldn't let him face this alone. At 8:30 a.m., I checked out of the hotel and took an Uber to the West Valley impound lot. Detective Webb had called ahead, so they were expecting me. A bored attendant led me to what remained of my Honda Civic, looking even worse in daylight than it had at the accident scene. I climbed into the driver's seat, trying not to look at the deployed airbags or the blood stains, Josh's blood, on the steering wheel. I reached under the seat, running my fingers along the underside until I felt it. A small key taped to the metal frame, James Carter's safety deposit key. My ticket into one of the most dangerous errands of my life. I pocketed the key and headed toward Tempe, toward Chase Bank, toward whatever evidence Josh had been collecting that was worth dying for. Victor Castellanos was watching that bank. I was walking right into his line of sight, and I had less than 90 minutes to pull this off before Josh surrendered himself to the FBI. The Chase Bank on Mill Avenue looked ordinary. Glass doors, ATM machines, a few cars in the parking lot. Nothing about it screamed danger. But as my Uber pulled up across the street, I spotted the black Dodge Charger parked near the corner. The same one from the Dashcam footage. Victor Castellanos was here, watching. I texted Detective Webb. He's here. Black Charger, northeast corner of the lot. His response came immediately. We see him. 2 undercover units in position. Proceed as planned. You've got this. I took a deep breath, paid the driver, and stepped out onto the sidewalk. The morning sun was already brutal, typical Phoenix heat making the asphalt shimmer. I walked toward the bank entrance with my purse clutched tight, the small key burning a hole in my pocket. Don't look at the Charger. Don't make eye contact. Just walk naturally. The bank's air conditioning hit me like a wave of relief. 3 tellers were working the counter. A security guard stood near the entrance, and maybe a dozen customers were scattered throughout the lobby. I headed straight for the customer service desk where a young woman with a nameplate reading Jennifer smiled at me. Good morning. How can I help you? I need to access a safety deposit box, please. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Of course. Do you have your key and ID? I handed her the key and the fake ID Josh had somehow created. A driver's license with my photo, but the name Sarah Carter. My hands were shaking slightly, and I prayed she wouldn't notice. Jennifer checked her computer, then looked up with a professional smile. Box 447, registered to James Carter with Sarah Carter as authorized access. I'll need you to sign here, and I'll take you back to the vault. I signed the form with a signature that looked nothing like my real one, hoping that didn't matter. Jennifer led me through a heavy door into a room lined with metal boxes of various sizes. She found 447, inserted her master key, and waited for me to insert mine. I'll give you privacy, she said, gesturing to a small booth with a table. Just let me know when you're finished. The box was heavier than I expected. I carried it to the booth, my heart hammering so hard I could barely hear anything else. I sat down, took another steadying breath, and opened it. Inside was a manila envelope, a small stack of photographs, 2 USB drives, and a burner phone. I pulled out the envelope first. It contained printed text messages, screenshots of conversations between Josh and someone named V that detailed payment schedules, threats, and instructions for where to meet. Victor. These were messages from Victor Castellanos. The photographs showed various locations around Phoenix: a warehouse in South Phoenix, a strip mall in Glendale, an office building in Scottsdale. Each photo had dates and times written on the back, along with license plate numbers and names I didn't recognize. Josh had been documenting Castellanos' entire operation. I picked up one of the USB drives. A label on it read, "Audio recordings, collection meetings, threats, assault on 6/12. Josh had recorded them. He'd actually recorded these criminals conducting their business. The second USB was labeled Ledger, Complete Financial Records, January 2023 to present. Josh hadn't just stolen the physical ledger. He'd digitized it, made copies, insurance that even if they found the original, the evidence would still exist. My brother, for all his faults, had been methodical, brave, and absolutely terrified, based on the shaky handwriting on some of these notes. I stuffed everything back into my purse, returned the empty box to Jennifer, and headed for the exit. Through the glass doors, I could see the charger was still parked in the same spot. My phone buzzed with a text from Webb. "Take a left out of the bank. Walk toward Mill Avenue. An unmarked car will pick you up in 1 block." I pushed through the doors into the Phoenix heat and turned left, forcing myself to walk at a normal pace. Behind me, I heard a car door open. "Excuse me, miss?" I didn't turn around, just kept walking. "Miss, I think you dropped something." The voice was closer now. I could hear footsteps approaching. Against every instinct, I stopped and turned. Victor Castellanos stood 5 feet away, his black leather jacket somehow not soaking with sweat despite the temperature. Up close, he was younger than I'd expected, maybe 35, with sharp features and cold eyes that assessed me like a predator sizing up prey. "I don't think I dropped anything," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. "You sure? You seemed in such a hurry leaving the bank." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "What's your name?" "That's none of your business." "See, I think it is my business. Because you look an awful lot like someone I've been trying to find. Someone whose brother owes my uncle a lot of money. Where were Webb's officers?" I glanced down the street, seeing no obvious unmarked cars. "I don't know what you're talking about." Victor took a step closer. "That's a nice purse. Must be heavy, carrying all that stuff from the bank. Safety deposit box, was it? Funny, I've been watching that bank all morning, and you're the first person to access the vault. Quite a coincidence." My hand tightened on my purse strap. I could run. Scream. Do something other than stand here. Step away from her. Now. The command came from behind Victor. I looked past him to see Detective Webb approaching, badge held high, with 2 uniformed officers flanking him. Relief flooded through me so intensely I almost cried. Victor's expression didn't change. "Detective Webb, always a pleasure. Hands where I can see them, Castellanos. You're under arrest for witness intimidation, vehicular assault, and about a dozen other charges we've been piling up thanks to your little chase scene yesterday." "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a concerned citizen who thought this young lady dropped something. Save it for your lawyer." "You're done." Webb nodded to the officers, who moved in to cuff Victor. For just a moment, Victor's mask slipped, and I saw pure rage flash across his face as he looked at me. "You have no idea what you've just done," he said quietly. Your uncle is going to be joining you in a cell very soon," Webb interrupted. "We've got everything we need now. It's over." As they led Victor away, Webb turned to me. "You okay?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. My legs felt like they might give out. "Come on, let's get you somewhere safe, and let's see what your brother collected." The FBI field office in Phoenix was nothing like I'd imagined. Less high-tech thriller, more bureaucratic office building with extra security. Agent Chen met us in a conference room, where I emptied my purse onto the table. She went through everything methodically, her expression growing more intense with each piece of evidence. When she plugged in the first USB drive and opened the audio files, we all fell silent, listening to Josh's nervous voice recording his meetings with Victor and other collectors. "This is incredible," Chen finally said. "Between this and the dashcam footage, we have enough to dismantle the entire Castellanos organization. Ms. Morgan, your brother did something very brave. And very stupid, but mostly brave. When is he surrendering?" I asked. Webb checked his watch. He said at noon. "It's 11:45 now. We waited in that conference room, the minutes crawling by. Noon came and went, 12:15, 12:30. My phone rang at 12:45. Unknown number. Ms. Morgan, this is Officer Sarah Patel with Casa Grande PD. We received a call about a disturbance at the Desert Rose Motel. When we arrived, we found a male matching the description in your bolo. He's asking for Detective Marcus Webb." Relief crashed over me. "Is he okay? Is he hurt?" "He's fine. Looks like he hasn't slept in days, but he's unharmed. We're bringing him to Phoenix now. Should arrive in about an hour." I looked at Webb, who nodded. "We'll be ready." Josh looked terrible when they brought him in. His hair was a mess, dark circles under bloodshot eyes, his clothes rumpled and stained. But when he saw me sitting in the conference room, his face crumpled. "Sav, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I stood up and, against my better judgment, hugged him. He smelled like sweat and fear and cheap motel soap, but he was alive. My idiot brother was alive. "You're an absolute moron," I whispered. "But I'm glad you're safe." Agent Chen cleared her throat. "Mr. Morgan, shall we begin?" What followed was 8 hours of interrogation, negotiation, and testimony. Josh told them everything. How he'd started gambling 2 years ago, how the debts piled up, how Castellanos' people found him and trapped him in a cycle of borrowing and owing. He explained how he'd started documenting their operation a month ago, when he realized he'd never be able to pay them back. "The car accident," he explained with tears streaming down his face, "was never supposed to happen. He'd planned to meet with the FBI that very day, but Victor had spotted him and given chase. In his panic, he'd run the red light and destroyed both our lives in one terrible moment. I thought if I ran, if I disappeared, maybe they wouldn't connect it back to you," Josh said, looking at me. "I knew the cops would find you, but I thought once I came forward with the evidence, they'd realize you weren't involved. I never meant for you to be arrested. I never meant for Mrs. Donovan to get hurt. I panicked. By 6 p.m., the FBI had enough." Agent Chen looked exhausted but satisfied. "Mr. Morgan, in exchange for your testimony against Marco and Victor Castellanos, and full cooperation with our ongoing investigation, the U.S. Attorney is prepared to offer you a deal. You'll plead guilty to leaving the scene of an accident, reckless driving, and theft. Combined, you're looking at 18 months minimum, possibly up to 3 years depending on the judge." Josh's face went pale. "Prison? You seriously injured an elderly woman and fled the scene, Mr. Morgan. There have to be consequences. But it's considerably better than the 10 years you'd face without cooperation. And the financial crimes charges regarding your sister's bank account will be dropped as part of the family resolution." Josh looked at me, his eyes pleading. I wanted to be angry. Part of me was angry. But mostly I was just tired. "Take the deal, Josh," I said quietly. "And then get your life together." He nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll take it." 3 months later, I sat in a courtroom watching my brother stand before a judge. Mrs. Donovan was there too, fully recovered but walking with a cane now. She'd given a victim impact statement that was both heartbreaking and surprisingly compassionate, acknowledging Josh's circumstances while making clear the cost of his actions. The judge sentenced Josh to 2 years in state prison, with credit for time served and possibility of parole after 18 months for good behavior. As they led him away, he looked back at me and mouthed, "Thank you." After the hearing, Mrs. Donovan approached me in the hallway. "How are you holding up, dear?" "I'm okay. Got a new car last week." "Well, a used car? But it's mine and it runs," she smiled. "I'm glad. And I want you to know, I don't hold any ill will toward you. You got caught up in someone else's poor choices. That's not your fault. Thank you for saying that. It means more than you know." As I left the courthouse, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Major organized crime bust in Phoenix. Marco and Victor Castellanos indicted on dozens of charges including racketeering, extortion, and witness intimidation. The dashcam footage, combined with Josh's testimony and the evidence he'd collected, had done exactly what Agent Chen promised. The Castellanos organization was finished. Marco was looking at 20 years minimum. Victor would likely spend the next decade behind bars. My phone rang. Detective Webb. Ms. Morgan, I thought you'd want to know. All charges against you have been formally dismissed. You're completely clear. I stopped walking, standing on the courthouse steps in the Phoenix sunshine, and felt something I hadn't felt in 3 months. Free. Thank you, Detective. For everything. You did good, Ms. Morgan. Your brother made terrible choices, but you handled it exactly right. After we hung up, I sat on those courthouse steps for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. My brother had gambled away his future, gotten in over his head with dangerous people, nearly killed an innocent woman, destroyed my car, stole my money, and forced me to face down criminals to save his life. But he'd also shown courage when it mattered most. He'd collected evidence that took down an organization that had hurt countless people. He'd tried, in his own messy and destructive way, to protect me. Josh would spend the next 2 years in prison. He'd have plenty of time to think about his choices and who he wanted to be when he got out. Maybe he'd change. Maybe he wouldn't. I couldn't control that. What I could control was my own life. And I was done being pulled into other people's disasters. I stood up, walked to my used Honda Accord, complete with a brand new dashcam, front and rear cameras, and drove home. The nightmare was over, and I was finally, truly free. 2 years later, I was at Banner Desert Medical Center finishing my shift when my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Hey, Sav, it's Josh. I'm out on parole. Been clean and sober for 18 months. Got a job lined up at a warehouse, nothing fancy, but it's honest work. I know I don't deserve it, but I'd like to grab coffee sometime if you're willing. No pressure. I just want to show you I'm different now. Your brother. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to delete it, to keep Josh out of my life and avoid any risk of him dragging me into another disaster. But he was still my brother. And people could change. Sometimes I texted back, "Coffee sounds good. But you're buying, and Josh? Don't make me regret this." His response came immediately. I won't. I promise. Thank you for giving me another chance. Would Josh stay on the right path? I honestly didn't know. But this time, I was going into it with my eyes open, my boundaries clear, and a dashcam that recorded everything, just in case. Because the one thing I'd learned from this whole nightmare was simple. Always have evidence. Always protect yourself, and never ever let someone borrow your car without knowing exactly where they're going and why. Trust, but verify. That was my new motto, and so far it was working just fine. Looking for more? We've got 2 amazing stories ready for you right on screen. If this one touched you, these are absolutely worth your time. Click to watch them now. And hey, subscribe and hit that bell to never miss our latest uploads.